Hey, friends. It is Lisa Mason Ziegler dropping in here on an evening to do a little chit chatting. And I'm so really glad that you have joined me here this evening. And I have some things to talk about, but I'm just checking how well our Wi-Fi. It says I have full Wi-Fi, but I'm looking at YouTube and maybe it's not looking so. So bear with me for just a second here. Hope everybody's had a great day. We are finally in Virginia warm and the flowers have exploded. And that's part of kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about tonight. So stand by, y'all. I'm just looking to see if I'm getting the connectivity. Oh, it looks good. Okay. So friends, I am, I'm in a different place than I was for the last so I've been farming for 25 years. If you're not familiar with us, the name of my farm is the Gardener's Workshop. Didn't start out with that name, but that's a whole story in itself, right? Um, and so I was a high production, urban, in the city, no hoop house, no greenhouse, no tractor for the first over a decade, farmer that produced a lot of flowers and built a really successful cut flower business selling to florists and supermarkets and all that stuff. And then about probably now 4 years ago, we really began this downward trajectory of backing away from high production for a lot of different reasons. I'm old, for one thing. I've been doing it for 25 years. But because of what was going on around me and to really embrace my passion of teaching, right? And sharing the experiences that I've gained through all these years, as well as I started out, I was a business person before I kind of came here. And so here, at the beginning of the season, for us here, at least in the mid-Atlantic of the United States, flowers are really getting ramped up. Things are kind of getting a little crazy. And when I say that, I mean crazy as in there's a lot to do. All of a sudden, you're not just starting seeds, you're planting stuff, you're harvesting, you have to sell, you have to, the weeds start growing like crazy. So it's like all of a sudden you become this juggler of all of these different things. And I see a lot of people facing challenges. And I want to say that, I named this talk Setting Yourself Apart as a Flower Farmer. And what I meant was from all the pool of people. And friends, here's the real secret. It's not nearly as hard as you think it is. It is really actually so simple that most people miss it. I say that often too. Back when I used to do a lot of traveling and doing conferences, I would say that about organic gardening. Organic gardening is so blooming simple when you just give Mother Nature a hand, help her, bump her up. It is so simple, we just think it can't work, right? It's like we're sure there has to be more steps, it's got to be harder, it's got to be more difficult. Well, I find that very same thing to be true in business. And because of that, it leads us to, and I did it too. I did it. I also suffered from what I'm seeing a lot of people suffer with today, or what I see them doing, whether they're suffering or not. They will be sooner or later, I guess, because what I'm seeing is just a lot of past prime flowers being shown and sold in buckets, and the way the buckets look. That's just one of some of the little things. But what I really wanted to talk about is you do not have to have the very best flowers to sell and to outsell or to outperform other people or to be successful in your business, however you want to look at it. You just have to be prepared and be a professional. And then you just have to do it. And it's not really nearly as hard as we seem to think it is. And I think so many people just really skip past these steps because the reality of flower farming as a business, meaning you you're, actually setting yourself up as a business, and that's what your goal is to create bringing in more money than you actually spend. That's the whole point, right? To make a profit. And it is so blooming simple. Most people, I think, are really good at getting started, and they might even be really good getting it when they're ending it all. It's the middle, y'all, that we tend to fall off the cart. We tend to think that we have to grow spectacular, special flowers. And I so did that my absolute self. But here's what I really want to hit down is that you have to set yourself apart regardless of what flowers you're selling. My niche for all these 25 years is I kind of went around the block. I grew tulips, I grew lilies, I grew perennials for a while. I grew a lot of different stuff and then circled back and kind of found my mark was actually selling annuals, the biggest bang, the most production for the square footage, because I'm landlocked in the middle of the city. While my property is 2 3/4 acres, I had an 1.5 acre cutting garden, which is big. That produces, 10 to 15,000 stems a week, right? When you're in high season. But to actually produce enough to pay, because you have to have help when you're doing that kind of volume to create enough income. We had to have constant harvesting going on. So I went down all of those roads. But what I want to say to you, it doesn't really matter what you're selling, whether you are selling tulips and ranunculus and anemones, which are gorgeous and in demand. I just don't have the setup to profitably, easily to grow those because I can't have structures, right? Which just makes them easier to grow. And, the bottom line is you just have to sell consistent quality. And that's what I see a lot of people struggling with. And to insult to injury to that, if you haven't built a customer base yet, if you don't have outlets, that makes it even worse because then you're kind of like piling up flowers, right? You should be harvesting. We harvest twice a week. It is true. You could harvest more often, and there are some flowers during certain seasons that actually might get harvested more than twice a week, but that's not our standard operation. We harvest on Mondays and Thursdays. And what happens when you don't sell those Monday flowers? They're still hanging around at the end of the week, and it's really hard to compost flowers that you have grown, cut, especially if you paid somebody to cut them, bunched or whatever. So you kind of get this whole cycle going. And I just find that there are some professional hot spots that are so simple to transform your business. And so many people just kind of, because it seems so simple, right? We just kind of plow through it. I do have to say that when I started flower farming, I definitely, even though I felt penalized because I didn't have a tractor, I couldn't have a hoop house, couldn't have a greenhouse, I was landlocked in the middle of the city. I felt like I had a lot of lemons piled up on top of me. However, I was a business person before I started flower farming. I was the business manager of an animal hospital. So I kind of always had that bottom line, being a professional in my mind. So what I want to offer is that no matter if you are just starting out or if you've been growing for a year or two, or you've been growing for more years than that, there are definitely things, no matter where you are in your walk, that you can transform your business and boost your confidence. Again, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to have any experience. I had no experience, right? I was barely a gardener when I started flower farming. I read a book and followed it, right? And you can too. But what I'm saying is that we have a lot of people that are doing all their focusing on growing the flowers because that is definitely the funnest part. It's the most obvious part. But I want to add that it's a lot of other pieces that just are super important. And I see them every day missing on social media. And they may seem very, very simple to you, but, you know, I mean, depends on how, if your business is rocking and you're not, and you're doing whatever you're doing, obviously you're doing great. But I just wanted to mention 6 things that can really help you, or areas that I think that people um, can really use a lot of help. One of them is, and this was so me when I first started out, was taking control of your business day. What are you spending your days doing? What, and it's so easy. I mean, until you actually maybe make some lists. That's one of the things in flower farming school. The whole first week is about business, about your business day and getting organized and finding time. And because you have to really, it's a real business. You have to have time in your day to actually do the steps to grow flowers and to do business and to do book work and to deliver and to harvest and to sell and to work on your business. You have to have time. And I do feel like, I know for me, that was something I just never really thought about. I thought, I would just wake up with a list in the morning, right, and hit the ground running. And at the end of the day, I was exhausted. I had worked all day, and there were still so many undone things on my list because, frankly, I was doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't even have been doing. And I talk a lot about, especially when I'm teaching, about taking your gardener glasses off and putting your farmer glasses on. And I just can't even tell you how many students have said to us, I had no idea how drastic the difference was between gardening and commercial farming, meaning the way you do things, because it's just about efficiency. And that is a huge step that most of us never take a breath to stop to think, what am I doing all day, every day? What, people talk about not having time to start their seeds. Well, guess what? If you don't start the seeds, you won't have plants. If you don't have plants, you won't be having flowers to cut and grow. You have to really learn and focus on prioritizing those things that really affect your business, not your gardening, not your, what you think you need to be doing out in your garden or standing at your window. That's what I used to do. I mean, it's tough living where you work. That means you could walk to any window on your home pretty much and see a million things to do. That used to be me. And that does not feed good business practices. So taking control of your business day is one of the things that I think revolutionized me as a business person and as a farmer. It just really helps you to prioritize what really needs to be done, should be done, and those things you just have to really let go. And the other things is that and I've already kind of touched on it, a working garden, a working commercial garden is so different than a big vegetable or flower garden that you may have as a hobbyist. And because of the way it's set up, the way that you build it, the efficiency, the way you plant things, how tight we plant things, I think people are super surprised how close together we plant plants. And, especially because I grow annuals, right? I mean, all I'm doing is planting them, getting them to grow quickly, and then cutting them and cutting them and cutting them and cutting them. So we pack them in tight. And you know what that means? We produce a lot of flowers from a square foot. But we also do so many steps that prevent weeds. We don't weed. I mean, a lot of my, how you have friends and acquaintances, they say, oh my gosh, you must weed all the time. Well, no, we don't weed. We do some weeding, but 95% of our weed focus is weed prevention. And it's the way that you set up a garden. And here for us, we don't grow in landscape fabric. We use a lot of other practices, and they're standard farming practices. And realizing that I am spending and wasting so much of my day doing things as a gardener when I should be doing things as a farmer. That is incredibly huge. And the other pivotal moment, and I just love when Dave Dowling and I do talks together. Dave will often say, hey, until you're selling your flowers, you're just a flower gardener, growing a lot of flowers. I think that people underestimate, and I truly remember, I was just sitting here thinking about, I can remember thinking, the flowers are so gorgeous, right? We're growing all this scrumptious, gorgeous, fresh, not shipped in, fluffy, fragrant, flowy, just gorgeous flowers, right? And we just think they're going to be bought right up. But friends, I'm telling you, it's not that you have to be a salesperson. You kind of have to. But when you become a professional, and I keep saying that because I'm telling you that the domestic cut flower market is mobbed with unprofessional flower growers they just don't know. It's not that they don't want to be professionals. They just don't know what they don't know. And it really affects all of us. And so knowing the steps to follow, having the confidence of knowing what to do, how to approach people, how to price, how to prepare, how to package, stage to harvest, holy cow, all of those things. I'm not saying you have to have a lot of experience, because again, I had no darn experience, right? But knowing what you need to do and the steps to follow make you a professional. And when you walk in, let's just say if you're trying to sell to florist or you're at a farmer's market, how many poor people have I seen talking on social media about they went to a florist and the florist wanted to barter with them, or they just went in there unprepared. You walk in, you know how they always say, fake it till you make it. Well, that is definitely true, but to fake it, you got to do some homework. You have to be prepared to be a professional. And so selling your flowers is a key piece. And the other thing that we get emails here at the Gardener's Workshop. People reach out to us all the time by email, DMs, and through social media. And just the people that, felt the pressure to invest money in crops that, were really kind of ahead of where they really were in their growing world, that they spent a lot of money on. And they don't even have customers yet. And they bloomed earlier than they thought. And they weren't prepared to, they couldn't sell them. And that's just a huge, huge hit. I want to just put out there for anybody, so you will know there is a way to get started, to learn how to grow those easy to grow, super low investment crops to make money on. I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell tulips and ranunculus and anemones. By all means, if you aspire to do that, oh my goodness. But y'all, I've often also said this, it's like we're in kindergarten and then we go to elementary school, and we're maybe in middle school, which for us here, that was 6th to 8th grade. You're in middle school, but we're reaching ahead trying to do graduate work. And it takes out so many good potential future lifelong flower growers because they fail so drastically. And I want to say that there are easy, totally in demand cash crops to start. That's what I built my business on. I grow only annuals. I do have a couple of perennials. I do have peonies. I do have tuberoses, which we leave in the ground. And that's pretty much it. Everything else we grow here on our farm for all these years have been hardy annuals. And even though we do grow several fairly pricey high dollar seeds, they are still dirt cheap compared to the high investment we need to make in bulb crops and perennial roots. I want to say, I'm not saying you shouldn't grow those, but there's a time and a place for that. And we just see so many people really fallen victim to that. And then big part of that, what you grow is to build, to have the highest profit margin. That's the whole point, right? I mean, if you just want to grow a lot of flowers, none of this is moot to you. You really don't even need this. But if you truly want to be a flower grower that actually makes money, you have to spend less than you make, right? And the difference between the two is what's called profit. And to maximize that profit, you have to be a seed starter. And that is so within everybody's reach, because I will tell you that I was perhaps the most dreadful seed starter way back when. And I did homework. I figured it out. How do I do it? How do I start a lot of seeds? What's the best way to do it? And again, we started in our high production years, which was about 8 years of my career up until about 3 or 4 years ago. We started 100,000 seedlings throughout the season. We start seeds here on my farm typically like January until October. I mean, we could actually start seeds in November and December, but we take a break for the holidays. And we do that all indoors. We do it with grow lights and racks, have grow room, we're soil blockers. I mean, I just found the way, because when I started for the first, this building I'm sitting in was built in 2004, I think. And I started farming in 98. So I'd been farming for 6 years. I had a bungalow house. I had a carport. And I started all my seeds in my kitchen, a pantry, and a cellar. And you can do it. I did it. But you have to I had to stay in my lane. I couldn't get too far out. And this is really the whole reason I wanted to do this little chat tonight, to really set yourself apart as a professional cut flower grower. Is, friends, you must learn the stage to harvest flowers and the stage to sell those flowers. We are seeing just so many flowers that are still beautiful. I mean, they're gorgeous, but they are past their point that they should be when they're being sold. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a wholesale house or to go to an auction where flowers are being commercially sold, or to watch, I know that the ASCFG, if you're a member of the Association of Specialty Cut Flower Growers, several of their conferences, we went and visited wholesale houses, and to see the state of the flowers. See this all behind me? These are all, by the way, leftover flowers from last week. They're all old. They're bloomed out. This is way past where they should be. This is not what you see when you go to those places. What you see when you go to those places, buds most often. Obviously, there's some flowers that are fully open when you cut them, like coxcomb and zinnias and stuff like that. But we have really got such an opportunity to claim more market share of the local domestic market. And for anybody that's not familiar, I mean, you do realize that just in the United States alone, like 6 to 8 billion with a B dollars of flowers are sold every year. Cut flowers. That's not potted plants. That's cut flowers. The cut flower business is enormous. And over 80% of that is imported from distant lands, from out of country. So there's no ceiling. It is the quality and the method that we're selling to actual addressing our customers that's holding us back. And then worse yet, it's the state of some of the quality of the flowers that we're actually selling. Because so here is the rub. When you go into a florist or go to a farmer's market or however, whatever area you are selling your flowers in, and you're not selling top quality, long lasting flowers, what happens is people start to, because we hear it. We hear it from the commercial side. We don't buy local because the flowers don't last. Why don't they last? Because they're being sold old, because they're being cut at the wrong stage, or they aren't being conditioned properly, or all of the above. And I just want to say, friends, it does not have to be that way. There are just some super simple practices. And again, you do not have to have the best flowers in the whole wide world. You have to be prepared and have your steps in order and just present quality and consistency. And it changes everything. So you don't have to have the best flowers in the world. Because I will tell you, I just simply sell annuals. And I say that because that's kind of the way I always felt all those years. Everybody's like, what do you mean you don't sell lilies and tulips and ranunculus and anemones and, all those second and third tier. I call them second and third tier just because they're a higher investment, which means you have more of a risk. You get more of a return, but you only get a return if you're successful and you have customers and you actually sell them, which doesn't happen as much as you actually think. So friends, what I want to share with you is that my course, Flower Farming School, it's on demand now, which means you can buy it anytime. But what I wanted to come on and make you aware of is that we have a special offer that's ending soon, where we are gifting you with 2 additional mini workshops when you purchase the course. And the courses so I want to just give you this big picture. Flower Farming School, the basics, annual crops, marketing, and more, which is my course, is a big overview of all the different pieces of flower farming: growing, business, harvesting, what you should grow, conditioning. We just added a great conditioning PDF in there. Anyway, it gives you this big picture. There are so many moving pieces that it's got what you need to figure out how to get your ball rolling and what all the possibilities are. There are so many deep rabbit holes that you can go down, that could be gone down, that one of the courses that we're gifting you when you buy my course is Ellen Frost's course, Preparing to Sell to Florist. Ellen Frost, if you don't know her of Local Color Flowers, Ellen is a floral studio in Baltimore, Maryland, where they are not a traditional brick and mortar florist. They have a design studio, very limited. They're only open like 8 hours a week. They do lots of events and things. And when I say events, I don't just mean weddings and those types of things. If you don't follow Local Color Flowers, you have to check her out. She is the florist, and she is the florist with a business model that I believe people dream of when they think they want to have a flower shop. She has book clubs. They have bloom battles. They have the coolest events. It's like she embraces her community. Anyway, Ellen only uses locally sourced flowers within 100 miles of her business. So she's done that for like 15 years now. She did a course for us. It's about 90 minutes long. It's Preparing to Sell to Florists. It is on pricing, how to prepare an availability list, and how to find your customer. And so it's a deep dive on selling to florists, which my course talks about selling to florists, but it's not a deep dive, because if I did a deep dive on every little area of flower farming, friends, that course would be 200 hours long. It's already about 30 hours, broken up into a whole bunch of sessions. It's a tool that you actually use. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Anyway, so we're gifting you. Ellen's course is $49.95. We are giving it to you when you buy my course this week. The other gift that we're giving you is a mini course that I did. It's called Cool Flowers Beyond the Book. And it is simply, my book, Cool Flowers, was actually written for home gardeners. This little course just is me advising you on how to take certain concepts in the book and apply them to flower farming, as well as some additional cool flowers. So we're gifting you those two things. The course is $595. And let me tell you what I have to say about that. $595 is a BB in the Astrodome when you consider if you just embraced small portions of this course to either stop doing things you shouldn't be doing or the correct way to do things, you're going to save $595 out of the gate. The other thing that I think about for me, so let's just say you're trying and you're selling a little bit. The most painful part of not really being successful yet is you make a little bit of money and it keeps you trying more, but you're just doing the same thing over and over again, not really doing anything different because you don't really know what to do different, right? I mean, we aren't born knowing these things, right? You have to actually learn them. And you have to change up what you're actually doing. And, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even see that there were comments over here. Hey, everybody. We got people from all over the place. So you actually have to change. So what I wanted to say was, so the course is $600. First off, we give a 7-day money back guarantee. But I'm a numbers person. And what I say to myself is, all right, if I save that $600 and don't spend it, keep it over here for whatever, how much money am I losing every day that I don't change and improve something? I mean, if you're making $200 a week now selling flowers and you want to make $1,000 a week, but you're not doing anything different to learn how to change what you're doing, friends, it's costing you $800 a week to not learn more. I am such a true believer that education and knowledge is at the top of the pile. And I just feel like there's so many of us. We need you, first off. We need more. I mean, Dave and I did a talk. Gosh, I'm sure it's buried on Facebook somewhere. We did a talk a couple years ago, and that's primarily what we talked about. Is people talk about there's too many flower farmers. Nothing could be further from the truth. There might be too many people trying to sell flowers at your local farmer's market, but that is the tip of the iceberg of where flowers are sold. It's the commercial world. And anyway, so I just wanted to point out to you guys, first off, that being right where you are right now, you can set yourself apart. And by setting yourself apart, it's becoming a professional. It's the way you present yourself, but more importantly, the way you present your flowers. And it's just very frustrating for me. The whole reason I built a course was I was delivering these messages of all the mess that's in that course. There's tons and tons of information. And by the way, it doesn't create information overload. It is people not starting and just embracing that is the overload. You just have to jump in and do it. But you just have to get some education and set yourself apart. And I was really, really very focused on that when I first started. I felt like that because I was a professional first, I knew what business people were thinking. I can remember when people would come into where I was a business manager and just not be very professional, whether it was the way they presented themselves, the way they were dressed, that's one of the things I talk about in Flower Farming School. That first week, the first class, which the first class is like 5 hours broken up into a lot of sessions, as is every additional. There's 6 classes plus a bunch of bonuses, plus over 2,500 frequently asked questions of me answering them that are keyword cataloged, by the way, that you just have to do it. We've tried to build and create and tweak the course now to actually create it into a tool so you can go in and search and find where things are to go to for whatever you're facing at that very given moment. Because if you don't actually start and do it, you're never going to change, y'all. And I don't know. Let's see what we've got going on over here. Oh, we got lots of friends on here. Hey, everybody. Rose said, I just signed up for the course this past weekend. Excited. So let me give you the best piece of advice, Rose, is that while I do definitely recommend in the deep of winter to watch the whole course from beginning to end, if you can do that, set aside like an hour twice a week or something to do that, or a couple hours. But to learn to use, there's a search on the bottom of your phone app that you can keyword search, and you can locate where things are, and it's time stamped. And I mean, there is so much information in there that can really guide you on your path to where you're going. And Lisa says, oh, thanks. Fantastic course. Take all you can. I still love going to conferences. I still take courses. I had a business coach for a long time, even though I was a business person. Friends, sometimes it takes somebody beyond you. So Kathy, this course is the best thing I've done for myself and my business. Thank you, Kathy, so much. We have folks from all over Canada. We have lots of folks on here. And Janet says, I have learned so much with this class. If you're serious about starting this, it's a roadmap for you. And that's the thing, because the problem with, because online is when you search, so which information do you actually believe? Because you don't always know where it came from, right? So friends, I want to just make you really aware that we have an opportunity. There's a special offer. I would love to gift Ellen's course to you, which will really take you down. If that's your area of interest, that is like a gem. That is so much detailed information of how to deal with a florist as a local farmer, and will really, really help you to see how much more. Who better to ask to hear what she has to say about how she covers so much in that course. It just brings you into a next step up of being a professional, is what I guess I'm trying to say. And no matter what your product is, by doing those things, it sets you apart from all the rest. Because friends, I'm here to tell you, the majority of the people that we're seeing on social media really are not effectively selling flowers. So don't feel like there's more of them than there are of you, because there's nothing that's just further from the truth. But you can set yourself apart. And I would love to see you in Flower Farming School. We have so the course is broken up into a bunch of sessions. You have lifetime, unlimited access to it. And Jesse actually put the link directly to the course here in the comments that you can go over there and look. I think there's like 54 sessions and tons of bonuses. And as I mentioned, a couple thousand frequently asked questions that are cataloged. So you can find them in videos to see if that's your special question that yet you didn't see get answered actually in the course. And, it's just a great stepping stone and tool, because here's one of the things that I've learned from taking courses now for about 7 years is that when you purchase a course, there are things that are hot spots for you right now, wherever you are in your walk that you're facing, that you're overwhelmed with. But guess what? Once you figure those things out in 6 months, you have new problems. And you can go back into the course and find those where those things are addressed. It lives and grows with you. And that's perhaps, to me, one of the most priceless features of doing online courses. See, well, it says they'll be in your pocket when you're in the field with questions. Is that not the truth? There's a great phone app that comes with our courses, and you can have your phone out in the field and get your questions, look up what you're trying to find. Laura, my business, y'all, this is just such a little uplift for me tonight. I didn't expect so many of our previous students to be here. My business would not be as successful as it is without the Gardener's Workshop courses. Going on our 5th growing season, and we have great things planned this year, including starting a floral collective. Oh my gosh, Laura, I'm so glad you said that. I believe that collectives are the next step in the domestic. When I say domestic, that's local, okay? Cut flower growers, meaning no matter where you are in the world, to sell flowers in your neck of the woods. That is our goal. That's the point. We don't want to ship flowers. We're trying to get away from that, right? We want to keep the freshness, and many of the flowers that we grow can't even do that. Oh, and I think that floral collectives, for anybody that doesn't know what that is, a floral collective is like a wholesale house that actually is either run or owned by flower farmers that pool their flowers together so that they can reach more commercial customers in one spot. It is like the future. I truly believe we have an awesome workshop called Collectives 101 for anybody that it's written, was taught by Amelia Ilo. She owns Rooted Farmers, which is the software that so many farmers connect with growers all over the country, and collectives everywhere use it. I consider Amelia a collective expert, and she taught a great workshop that you can find over at the Gardener's Workshop. What is this? Hello from Idaho. My first real year selling thanks to Lisa's course. I would be willing to say to you, and I'm getting off here, y'all, that a biggest part that I believe people gain from the course is the confidence they need to walk into a business to sell your flowers, to know what to say, how to react. And I'll tell you this little story very short. My very first experience, because I followed the book that I read, it said, walk in and take a big old abundance armload of samples. Well, I did all my homework. I was so well prepared. I was so versed professionally. I was ready. Had all my little pieces of paper that I recommend that you have to take in and drop off. I went in with my samples and set them on the counter of this shop. And the buyer who was on the phone turned around. His eyeballs got big. He looked at what I had: a big bucket of mop head hydrangeas and a little bucket of tall, fragrant sweet peas. Swept him off his feet. He told the customer, hold please, that he was talking to on the phone, said, I'll buy them all, then got back on the phone. Totally derailed me, because I had prepared to go in there and give him free samples to show that my flowers were conditioned, they were at the right stage, But because I was so well prepared, I was able to deal with that as a professional. And when I say a professional, that means you tell them what to expect, how you're doing it, not what you're growing. You don't have to tell them what your prices of everything is. That all comes on the availability list when you send it to them on this given day at a given time. And I'm telling you, y'all, it changes your relationship. And one of the things that I have offered is that when people approach commercial customers unprofessionally, meaning they go in there, they don't have a price list with true competitive wholesale pricing, proper pricing, not cheap prices, not retail prices, you look like you're not a professional. And it's not that you can't mend that fence ultimately once you figure out where you went wrong, but that's a lot of extra work. Why go through that tragedy? I mean, that's really hard. It's a very confrontational kind of situation to put yourself in. And that's what the course is really about. It's like building your confidence up, helping you figure out what you need to know, where you're going to go sell, what to do, how to present them, how to wrap them, how to, how to do all that stuff, how the industry does it. So you go in there looking like you know what you're talking about, so you can sell them thousands of dollars worth of flowers because they want the flowers. They might not know they want the flowers yet. You have to prove to them, because unfortunately, that's what I had to do. I came after somebody that sold old flowers, many that weren't even cut flower varieties. I had to prove to the commercial customers here 2 decades ago that my flowers were as good or better than what they were buying at the wholesaler. And it was a process, but it was worth it. It paid off in spades for me, right? And so that's what the course goes, kind of, and it just makes all the difference in the world. Oh, Amanda, congratulations. Got some land, getting started, taking the time to rewatch everything. Sometimes I want to just speed up time and it's already going so quickly. So that's the other thing, is that, and I will tell you, I mean, I could, you know me, I could talk all night, but going back in, probably one of the most underused portions of the course. We know that more people watched the course after the school time, the way we used to drip them out. That's why we moved to this on-demand model for them, because that's the way people were using them, right? You can go back in and rewatch. You have unlimited lifetime access. And I'm sure you do know this, Amanda, you can actually speed the videos up. There's a setting right there. I do it. I watch everything in twice speed. So you can watch them quicker. You can listen to them like a podcast. Your phone can go, into sleep mode, and you can continue to listen to the courses. So congratulations on getting your land. Oh, Dry Dock. I absolutely love the course. Take it if you can. I didn't even know I could be a flower farmer, and it has changed my life. I look forward to getting bigger and better each year. So that's the other part of going back in and rewatching stuff. Things that aren't on your radar right now, when you watch a class or a session or something, you only hear what you're focusing on. This is why you always take another person to the doctor with you. You only hear what you want to hear. It's the same thing when we're listening in class. You only hear the things that you're kind of perked up and ready to hear. All the extra stuff just kind of goes by. But when you come back in and listen, I go back to the course that I took on building online courses. This has been 8 years since I took it. I'll go back in. We were just talking about it. We have a marketing meeting every Monday with our marketing people. And today we were just talking about going back into that course that I bought 8 years ago and rewatching the marketing part of it, because you don't know what you don't know. You don't remember everything. So going back in and rewatching is totally amazing. Tasha says, even though I've grown up on a flower farm, I have taken 6 of the classes of the Gardener's Workshop. You cannot have enough education. I am growing annuals. I'm already selling thanks to these classes. Classes are really worth it. Tasha, congratulations. I'll be really honest, friends. I want to beautify my property. I want to live the flower farming life. I want to make money. I want to be profitable. And I found my niche for doing that. And I found the simplest, easiest, most efficient way to do it. And that's kind of what we communicate, Andy, I love the class, and I go back and revisit topics each year. Oh, each month, each week. Just take good care of your flowers and follow Lisa. Oh, y'all are so wonderful. So please, if you've already taken the course, please share your kind words with your fellow friends and fellow flower farmers. Share about the special offer. I mean, I just love that we're given Ellen's course with this purchase of the course this week. The special goes off at the end of the week. And so I just hope to see you in there. And we still do maintain a private Facebook group where it's just my students. I drop in and out of there, but I'm telling you, friends, we have so many seasoned students in there. There is so much helping each other going on that it's just an amazing community, which is another perk of being one of my students. Andy, what did she say? Oh, and by the way, I love your rabbit holes. Thank you. Good, because I love rabbit holes too. So y'all, I am doing another live this week. We really haven't marketed that my course is on demand now, meaning it used to just be for sale for 5 short days in November. That is no longer the case. You can buy it anytime. Please share that. If you're a student, please give a shout out that says, hey, I took the course. If you want to know anything about it, ask me. That is like the best gem ever for me. I mean, that is just a really, really great gift to us. And, you know, I just want to say, set yourself apart. It's easier than you think it is. And it's really about just a few simple practices of what you're doing. And I would love to help you up your game. So Flower Farming School online, you'll find it at thegardenersworkshop.com. The special offer is ending soon. And y'all, I look at $600 and say, all right, that's 2 small subscriptions. That's a weekend at the farmer's market. How can you not benefit from that? I mean, I can say that in total honesty. Every year, and I'm getting off here after I say this, every year before we used to do that small launch, I would sit down, I'd say, you know, I'm going to go in and watch the course. Maybe we need to retire it, you know, and I go in and watch it. And it's like, holy cow, it's just the skeleton. It's the foundation of what you need to do. There's no bells and whistles. It is the simple facts to help you build your business, because that we need you. And I would love to be a part of that with you. All right, everybody, I'm out of here. Ciao.